As we have discussed throughout the hour, David Braun did not expect to be in this spot, was brought in for his defensive acumen, which is apparent. Led the top scoring D in the nation twice in his time at North Dakota State. Big shoes to step into, replacing the winningest coach in school history. Braun visiting now with Gerry and Howard.
Coach, another good day at practice. How do you feel and how do you assess the team to this point?
We got a lot of work to do, but each day that we're back on the football field right now and getting an opportunity to identify where we're at just from a personnel standpoint is a good day. I really appreciated the energy, the way that our guys are just even navigating day to day in camp in terms of meetings. Again, like I've said before, it's a special group that's been navigating some turbulent times, and as a staff, we're really working through just really identifying the guys that we got to find opportunities to get on the field. There's been some promising things out of our freshmen. There's been some really promising things out of guys that are coming off an injury from last season that are now back in the mix. And we just got to continue to evaluate how we can develop our depth while also being smart to make sure we keep this team as healthy as we possibly can and find ways to get our best 11 on the field in all three phases.
Talk about navigation. How about you? How's the role been? First-time head coach. What's that been like?
I'm learning every day. I'll tell you that much, Coach. I'm learning every day. We have an incredible staff, which is step one, and feel very comfortable delegating responsibility, which probably earlier on in my career I would have struggled with that. But that delegation and leaning into Alex Knisely, our director of football operations, has been absolutely critical. Really confident about where the offense is at under Coach Bajakian, and the defensive staff. I'm certainly very involved. But also, putting some more weight on those guys right now to get in front of the room in unit meetings. The defense is hearing it from me from a head coaching perspective. They'll still hear from me in unit meetings, but the way that our defensive staff has stepped up in those roles and continuing to take more ownership of this defense after, being full throttle throughout the spring has been really impressive.
How much time are you getting to spend in some of the offensive meetings? Because as you mentioned, you're having to delegate, but now you have to kind of get around to everyone on the team, offensive guys, defensive, special teams. How's that been working for you?
There's been conversations, with Mike and with Kurt and with the offensive staff, and just really identifying, their views and who we have from a personnel standpoint and how we can find ways to play complementary football this year and win. I have not had much time to sit in those meetings just yet, just finished up, after a few practices. There'll be a time for that, but again, so much of it right now, considering this context and this timing, is just going to be really, really just trusting Mike and his staff to do an incredible job and make sure that, as a program in all three phases, we're on the same page on how this team finds ways to win this year.
So, Coach, as a defensive coach, takeaways was a big part of what you taught on defense. Last year, turnovers for the Northwestern offense was a big problem. I'm interested in, now that you're the head coach, a perspective of a head coach helping the offensive staff prevent the turnovers that were so harmful to this team a year ago.
Coach, I don't know if I should be excited or frustrated because after three practices, defensively we've only created one takeaway, which is as the defensive coordinator.
Well, that's better. Yeah. Trust me, you're better.
I'm like, oh gosh, we got some issues. And then on the flip side, I'm like, you know what, the offense. Mike and I talked about this the other day, but they really put a system into place this past spring in terms of the way that they're operating pre-practice and even in some of our special teams periods to really just create habits that are going to lead to being secure with the football. I've been intentional in team meetings of when we pull up clips of just pointing out just smart football plays, whether that be in a quarterback throwing the ball away, checking the ball down. Hey guys, this is a check down, but that's going for 7 yards.
Right.
It's a pretty efficient play. Great decision, Sully. Great decision, Ben, whoever that may be. And we're really working to do the same thing on defense. LaMarcus Hicks, our corners coach, I've charged him with kind of being our takeaway coach. He's put together a pre-practice circuit that we started in the spring, but he's taken it and made it even better. We got station work that will work pre-practice, and again, just looking to create habits that we got to make sure show up in practice and then show up on Saturdays in the fall and lead to taking the ball away.
You got a quarterback battle.
Yeah.
How have you seen that play out to this point, and when would you like to be able to make a decision?
I would love to feel very confident of how we're moving forward once we get through our second scrimmage, roughly 2 weeks out from Rutgers, and just, we're going to have 2 weeks of preparation where we kind of get into our rhythm and routine, and would like to have a decision made by then, just so that, whoever that may be can get in that rhythm, and our guys can feel comfortable in their roles moving forward. The thing that I can say with absolute confidence is whoever gets named our starting quarterback, I think that individual, that young man, is going to be the best version of himself. There is true competition in there right now, and I think you're starting to see the best of everyone come out because of it.
When you talk about having that battle, it's different for you, right? The way you look at the battle, just because I'm guessing you haven't had to make a decision on who the starting quarterback has to be in your previous coaching stints. What are you thinking that needs to happen from the quarterback position?
I go back to my observations in my time at North Dakota State. I always joke in recruiting, if I get a quarterback in my area as an area recruiter, I'll take 2 minutes, 2-minute look at the highlight film, and when in doubt, pass it on to the quarterback coach. I don't need to be evaluating, throwing motion or any of that. But what I can say, and what I've always prided myself on as a recruiter and recruiting quarterbacks, is just really identifying the intangibles about a young man that are so critical to being a winning quarterback. And, the things that I observed when Carson Wentz would come back to Fargo, my time around Easton Stick, my time around Trey Lance, my time around now Cam Miller, who's the quarterback up there, all were different in terms of their footwork, their athleticism, their arm talent, but there was a common thread within those young men that the locker room rallied around those guys. They wanted to battle and do whatever it took to win for those guys. Those guys were great teammates to everyone on that roster. I mean, everyone. I mean, there's people that still talk around the Fargo Dome that are, custodial staff around the Fargo Dome that talk about their interactions with Easton Stick. They treated people the right way. They just naturally led and rallied people. And those are the things that I'm paying attention to as we navigate this as a staff.
Coach, what are the position groups closest to being ready, or you can predict that they'll be ready for the opener, and what are the position groups that maybe are the furthest away?
Yeah, I think the quarterback position honestly lends itself to being ready just because of the competition that exists in that room right now. I'm really excited about the top end of that running back room. With Cam Porter specifically, it's just the depth that's going to have to develop in that room. The O-line's going to get there. It needs more time. I would say that tight end group is, it is veteran, it is deep. I'm excited to tap into that group. And I would say that the wide receiver group is very similar to the O-line. I'm very confident in both those groups executing at the level that they need to come game day. But both those groups critically need camp for development and continuity and rhythm. On the defensive side of the ball, I would put the D-line in the group of the O-line. That group's got something to it. It's just not there yet. We better go to work these next couple weeks. The linebacker room, I think we know what we have with the veteran leadership in that room. We need to continue to identify who our slot area defender can be against some of those spread teams, truly our nickel. The safety room, we got to lean into that depth. That group's similar to the tight end room on the offensive side of the ball. There's depth, there's experience. And, the corner room, very athletic. Some really good competition in that room right now. Confident about the way that group's going to be able to play. But similar to the QB room, there's still some decisions to be made in that room right now.
Slide area defender. I like that. I learned something today. Thank you.
Coach, you've talked about just how resilient these young people are going through this situation here. Who are some of the leaders that now, when you walk out on the football field, that you feel confident and are doing a great job of leading on the football field?
Yeah. Bryce Gallagher, Cam Porter, Rod Hurd, the list goes on and on. Charlie Mangieri, the way those guys are carrying themselves, Josh Preeb. They're just, you can see the way that they're rallying around guys. You can see the way that, man, when they know when the team needs a little kickstart, that they're providing that. And it's been so good to see these guys get back into football. It's been so good to come back here in the evenings and have time for team meetings where we're just getting into that rhythm and routine. And the thing that we all need to openly admit and be prepared for is this progress is not going to be linear. There's going to be peaks and valleys as we navigate this season, but I feel extremely confident in the group that we're going to be able to navigate those peaks and valleys and do great things this fall.
What do you think it's ultimately going to take for the team to have success this year?
That's a great question. I think this team through fall camp collectively as a staff and as a team, we need to be very clear and to the point on who we are. We can't try and be someone that we're not. Who is this team? And what I see from the intangibles standpoint, I see a tough, resilient, gritty team that plays team football. We have to lean into that. And whether that's out of 10 personnel or 12 personnel or 13 personnel, whether that's out of nickel or base, cover two or cover, I mean, that's what we have to lean into. And special teams will be a critical piece in that. We got to find ways to win a lot of one-score games.
Well, Coach, thanks so much for your time today, and good luck the rest of the way.
Thank you. Appreciate it.